My most requested video idea is the tier list for the winter event. But before I get into the tier list that I made, I need to explain how this works. Because this tier list only have 4 tiers: S tier, A tier, B tier, and finally C tier. I decided to remove every other tier, such as D tier and F tier, because that's just complicating things for no reason. So in this tier list, S tier is still the best, and C tier is now the worst. C tier units are units that you're never really going to need unless you just freshly started the game and you have nothing to your name. So that's really the only reason you're going to be using these units. B tier units are ones that are good in the early game and still remains decent until mid game, but they will get replaced later on once you start entering the end game. Being a B tier unit isn't a bad thing. Some of the B tier units are very good for quickly grinding so that you can reach the end game faster. So if you're in the early game and you're trying to get units, don't overlook B tier units. For example, the money makers are really good early game. A tier units are units that are both good and reliable, even when you're in the end game. When you pretty much have everything maxed out, these A tier units are still reliable. They are very strong, but they're not strong enough where I would put them in the S tier. Or maybe they are strong enough to be in the S tier in like one aspect, such as they deal an insane amount of damage, but they're in the A tier because they're very flawed in another aspect, such as their HP. So they need a good team comp for their true value to come out. So units that are like glass cannon that just deal insane amount of damage but dies very easily will be in the A tier. Now, S tier units are units that are the best thing in the game. They can be used anywhere and in whatever team you have, and they will just shine. The order that I have placed the units in each tier isn't that important. It's kind of situational, depending on the mode and where you are in the game. So it's not that important. What is important is what tier they are in. And with that out of the way, let's get started. As I explained earlier, these units are ones that are really only good when you just started the game and have nothing else to use. Some of them can be evolved into stronger versions, such as Kirito, but other than that, there's really no units here that you would aim for. B tier units are good early to mid game. For example, Meliodas and Nami is at the top of the B tier. They're both money makers, and the rest of the B tiers are legendary units who have good base stats and could potentially be evolved, but on its own, they're strong to the mid game. The reason that money makers are in this tier might be confusing to some of you who have not watched my last tier list. Basically, moneymakers are not that important endgame. This might seem a bit confusing because in your typical tower defense game, like Anime Vanguard and so on, moneymakers are vital to your team. You cannot run a team without having one or two moneymaker. But that's not true for Anime Auto Chess. Anime Auto Chess endgame requires no moneymaker because when you're in the mid game, you're going to be using legendaries, maybe some mythics, and then some epics. You can place down a lot of them. For example, legendary, you can place 2 down, epics, you can place 3. But when you're in the late game and you have a full team of mythic or exclusive units, you can only place one of each unit down. And their costs are not, it's not expensive to place down and max them out. So in the end game, you're not going to be running any moneymaker. The only moneymaker you might run might be like Evo Nami because she does support. It's not even because she does money making. It's because she's a support unit. So that's kind of why moneymaker is in the B tier. In the A tier, we have some very strong units. Now, I'm going to put Sakura in the A tier because her healing is just very, very broken. Whenever you're running like infinite mode in some challenge, you're probably going to need one Sakura, or at least if you're playing in a team, someone has to bring her because she just gives that much more power to the team comp. The healing's just insane. And Riaz is here because she's a glass cannon. Her damage, I think Riaz does the best damage in the game. I don't have a unit that can outdamage her. But her HP is so low that she just dies off the bat a lot of time. So unless you can have someone like Whitebeard protecting her, she's not going to be that useful. So she's stuck in the A tier, not S tier. Units like Whitebeard and other One Piece units, it's pretty obvious why they're here. They're strong, they're very strong, but they're not S tier strong. Once you see the S tier units, you'll understand. Toji Unevolved is also here. Shanks is also here. Shanks is an odd one because while he is an exclusive unit, he just have like a very strong base stats. His ability and passives are not all that impressive, but he is just strong. He's just strong. I don't know how to explain it. He's just the most basic strong you can have. And other units like Nami is also here because of her attack speed support. I did place Light Admiral on the S tier last time, but after playing with more units around and playing in the new update, I feel like he's lacking now. He doesn't pack as much of a punch anymore. And I also put Roxy here because she now have an evolution. Her evolution just does more damage. I don't believe they fixed her passive ability yet. If they do fix her passive ability, I still would put her in A tier, but maybe higher on the A tier. But overall, A tier units are just very strong units. Whether or not you should probably aim for them. That's all I'm trying to say. In my previous tier list, I have 3 units on the S tier. Right now, I have 4. Kirito was an S tier unit on my last tier list too, and he is still an S tier unit. Kirito is very strong. Kirito is the most or the easiest mythic to get, and he's probably the strongest, one of the strongest. That's why he's on the S tier. Ace, I put him in the A tier last time, but after using him with like the new team comp and the new units, he's S tier. It could be a bit biased. I do have what's the trait? Bloodlust, so he can heal when doing damage. I might be a little bit biased. He could still be an A tier or a very high A tier, but because I just might be a bit biased. His damage is insanely high, and he's just good, so he's in the S tier. Goku, it's very simple why he's here. Very tanky, does good damage, very hard to kill, so S tier. And Toji is basically Goku on crack. He does everything Goku can, but he has a passive that heals him whenever he kills anything, which is a very broken passive. I did a showcase on Toji a couple hours ago, maybe half a day ago, and his healing is insane. If he do 10k damage, he's gonna heal like 20 something k. So I don't see any other units that can heal that much and just have that survivability, the ability to stay alive for so goddamn long. The downside of Toji and Goku and maybe Kirito is that these 3 are mainly reliant on their normal attack. So they kind of lack in area damage, which is why I put Ace up here, because Ace is great at area damage and kind of cover for the other three's lack of the area damage. So all S tier units are pretty much very strong. The strongest is probably Toji. If I would recommend you grinding for these, I would say grind for Kirito first because it's the easiest to get, and then Goku and Ace second, and Toji's the last one because he's so hard to get. And that's the S tier. You may have realized that some of the units are left out. For example, Saber, Sabo, Dio, and the starter units. The main reason why these units are not included is because I just don't have them. So my judgment of where they would rank in my tier list would be heavily flawed, even more flawed than some of the units on my tier list right now. So, yeah, even some of the units that are on my tier list right now could be ranked slightly wrong because of the traits and gears that I have placed on them really affects how I view them or affects how strong they are in my team comp. So my view could be slightly biased. And for the units that I did not include in this tier list, I will make showcases for them later on in the future when I do get them. So subscribe and like this video so you can stay notified when that happens. I'm planning to make my next video be the Dio showcase, but before I can showcase him, I need to get him. So my next video might take a few days to come out, maybe 2 to 3 days from now. So I'm just going to try to grind for 1 million candy cane and then use all the luck boosts I have. And I'm just going to make a video spending 1 million candy cane summoning for Dio. But other than that, have a wonderful day and hopefully you wish me luck for Dio.